All right, we're back, guys. Welcome to the Dustin LeBleu CEO podcast, and I'm joined by a special guest today, Cody LeBleu. Welcome, man.
Hey, man. What's going on? How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. We got some good stuff to talk about.
Yes,
The reason I have Cody on is we're going to be talking about medical marijuana today, and Cody's like a pioneer in Arkansas.
Trying to be.
So give us kind of a background, like what's been going on, and kind of get us up to date here.
Pretty much Constitutional Amendment 98 passed late last year. We just went through the application process. The deadline was on Monday, the 18th. So now everybody's just kind of in a holding pattern, sitting back, trying to figure out how this is going to go. Once the licenses get granted, we'll get to moving. Arkansas, being in the South and being the first state in the South to legalize medical marijuana, is kind of in a unique position because everybody around us is kind of looking to see how we do it and learn from our successes and not necessarily our mistakes.
Okay.
What we want to do is we want to look at all the other states' successes and learn from those and not go down the same roads that have caused any failures. And to be honest with you, there haven't really been that many in the medical marijuana.
What would be
community.
considered a failure?
I mean, you're gonna have the guys that get, that are gonna get pot. They're gonna go across state lines. A kid's gonna buy it and get caught with it. I mean, that's gonna happen. What we want to do is try to put controls in place to keep it to where it doesn't happen.
Kind of like we do with innovative formulations.
Correct.
Where it's,
Exactly.
people that listen to the show kind of know a little bit about each business, but this one's a intricate one that I'm going in with you on, basically. And it's like, we went down, was it last Friday?
Yes, sir.
It was last Friday, and I think there was a total of 300 applicants, and it was just like the what was it, the DFA or whatever?
Yeah, to the alcohol ABC, actually.
Hey, ABC, that's right.
Sir.
It was just hectic, man. Like, we barely even made the cutoff time.
Yeah, they were, I think they were not prepared for the rush that they were going to get.
No.
Way understaffed. But they did a good job of getting everybody checked through,
Yeah, they did. I think they actually kept people, like they went late,
I
didn't
think they stayed late, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, kept the offices open and all that.
Yeah. So what do you think what do you think the ramifications are of like medical marijuana passing here and then us kind of pioneering this whole like movement, like with the opioid addiction and like all this kind of stuff going on? Like, what do you think this does for people's lives and like people in general?
I think it definitely can enhance it. I mean, we have to change the stigma of pot. No, you're a pothead. No, it's bad. And, the reefer madness. And, none of that is true. It's, we've been lied to by the federal government, to be honest with you. I mean, up until the 30s, you could buy cannabinoids out of pharmacies for all kind of ailments, anti-inflammatories, appetite, get your appetite going, nausea, stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of things that this plant can help and do it naturally and not have adverse effects on your body, changing your physiology to where it's actually killing you, like pharmaceutical drugs are doing. I mean,
what is the stat on that? I think it's like, isn't it like the third leading cause of death in the world now is like doctors and pharmaceutical drugs, mostly?
Correct. Yes, sir. Mostly. I mean, I read a stat actually on my way over here that there's actually more overdose deaths now of pain pills and anxiety medications than people die in car wrecks. And I mean, it's something like 37,000 people a year in car accidents. So I mean, over that's staggering. And I mean, as human beings, I think driving a vehicle at each other, me and you talked.
Like
I mean,
missiles,
that's insane. Yeah, you know. So I mean, that's a very dangerous act. I mean, and you have a pill that is killing more people than that. There's a way we can fix this.
That is really crazy. You think about it. You're driving two cars like so close to each other, and you got doctors who are basically. And I'm not talking bad about doctors, but ultimately they don't really know a lot of what. Most of them. I'm not saying every one of them. But they don't know a lot of what these pharmaceutical drugs even really do because they come in and they're persuaded by a hot little chick that says, hey, this is for this. And they end up getting, basically sold on this idea of this will help this certain situation. Right.
Correct. I mean, that's basically what it is. The doctors and the big pharma companies, those are the drug thugs, man. They're coming in, they're writing prescriptions left and right. And they don't look at what else it affects. Okay, yeah, this pill might help my blood pressure, but now it's going to cause me to have all kind of intestinal problems where I can't go to the bathroom. So now I have to take another pill for that, which in turn affects my heart. And I mean, it's when
then you're on heart medication.
Correct, and you're on heart medication. And I mean, God, look at the money they're racking up. When all you really need to do is, I mean, a little CBDs could have fixed your arthritis
Yeah, dude,
from Jump Street.
I can speak on this like just from a point of view, like, you know, a lot of guys that know me, I'm pretty ADHD and stuff like that. Well, they diagnosed me with ADHD kind of wrongly at some point, and I was taking Adderall, and I should not have been taking that shit. I mean, that shit was, I don't need that.
Correct.
So I've had it happen to me firsthand.
I mean, yeah, and that's, you know, I hear a lot of things too at the medical marijuana about kids. You know, oh, what happens when a kid gets a hold of it? What happens when a kid gets a hold of your pain pill and accidentally takes it? They end up dying. I mean,
yeah.
I challenge anyone to bring me a case of where medical marijuana has killed anybody.
I don't think there's even a debate there.
Yeah, I mean,
there's not a debate versus, like, if you look at, like, let's just stick with like opioid, like opiates. Like, let's stick with that versus, like, you know, weed. I mean, you can't.
There's
it's
no
not
comparison.
even a comparison.
Correct. A lot of the second argument I hear from a lot of people is, oh, you know, the kids are going to get the pot, the kids are going to get the dope, and the kids can already get it. Okay, once we turn, let's stop that argument right there. All right, if they want it, they're going to get it.
And most kids can get it easier than adults.
Easier than adults, correct. But once we turn it to medication, it's not going to be cool no more for the kids to be smoking pot because, hey, daddy takes this for his joint pain, or daddy takes this for his Crohn's disease or his MS, or it's medicine. So now it's not as cool. Yeah. And you can look at the studies. Every state that has legalized medical marijuana, teen smoking rates have gone down.
Yeah, and you told me that this morning, and I was kind of like, that just makes sense. I mean, correct. If adults are doing it and grandpa's doing it, why would you want to be doing it?
Look at the social media changes. I mean, they were all on the MySpace to begin with, and then the older people got on that, and then they jumped to the Facebook.
Yeah.
And then, and then it was the Instagram and the Snapchats. And I mean, just it's the same thing with this. It's Geritol now. They're not going to want to take it.
Right, right. It's just like podcasts. It used to be radio. Now it's podcasts. I mean, We're not sitting here talking on the radio. We're talking on a podcast because we can get it out to millions of people.
Correct. And I mean, that's the whole idea. We have to educate people. We have to change the stigma. We have to change the stigma the doctors look on it. I mean, that's going to be the biggest part. If they're still stuck in the reefer madness days, they're not going to want to prescribe this to people.
If a doctor's stuck in reefer madness days, they need to be fired.
Oh, 100%.
That is sad.
I agree.
See, I think my doctor would be okay with this. Like, I don't think he'd have a problem because he's open-minded.
And I mean, that's, you tell me, unfortunately, I smoke cigarettes, okay? Yeah. You tell me it's okay for me to smoke that plant, but not this one, but you've acknowledged that this one is killing me. And you've also acknowledged that this one that I can't smoke through your patents can actually save my life.
So what's up with the patent? Like, what's the deal with that?
I mean, they have
you're grabbing a piece of paper.
Yeah, I got it on a piece of paper. Shit. I couldn't remember the patent number. It's US 641588B1, and that's the U.S. patent for the use of cannabinoids as an anti-inflammatory.
So when was this patent? Does it say
this one was issued in the 70s. They've had them out since '68. Whenever they started growing medical marijuana at Ole Miss.
Wow.
They've had about 20 patients for all those years.
So you're talking about close to 50 years this has been known.
That there's federally 10 cans, 300 joints per month. They send them there, prescribed 10 a day. That's from the federal government.
So what does that say for the federal government if they've known this for 50 years and they've had patents?
It says that they're lying. You're telling me that it's okay for you to prescribe this to somebody, but the second that a state says, okay, we're going to allow this medical marijuana, oh, no, that's not right. No, it is right.
So
and that's why they haven't arrested anybody for this yet.
This is interesting. So you basically, how did you find out about this?
I actually found out about it through the AMMA symposium with Montel Williams, and he had actually brought it up, and I started doing a little bit more research on it, and it's like, yeah, I've always been kind of curious, it's federally legal, they're just turning a blind eye to it. No, it's not a blind eye. They can't do anything about it because they're already doing it. Therefore, you cannot prosecute the state for saying that's legal or the individual because you're actually performing the act.
Yeah, you're doing the exact same thing, but actually to a worse degree because you knew about this for 50 years.
Correct.
You're just holding it back. That's just
holding it back.
Man, that's fascinating.
And I mean, you look at all the lobbyists in Washington and a big pharma. I mean, look at the money those people are paid to keep this illegal, so we can keep producing drugs. I mean, look at this. America is the only country in the world where pharmaceutical companies are actually allowed to put their product like on TV to advertise to the direct consumer. You can't do that in any other country. There's a reason why.
Did you see that old man and that old lady walking around? They look so happy.
Oh yeah, I'm
They
sure
had
they
tea,
were.
they had coffee.
Yeah,
Like,
and then we
stemmed out of their
sped through
fucking
the side
mind.
effects, and we made them real small on the bottom
Yeah.
so nobody could see them.
And by the way, it causes liver disease and causes heart disease,
Correct.
but that's okay. You'll feel happy.
yes,
God. It's unbelievable, man. So what's up with so you mentioned Montel Williams. So what's going on with him? Is he he's been like a big fight for this for a long time, right?
Yeah, and I actually didn't realize it. I guess I'm a little young for that. I remember he had a show on whenever I was a kid. He had a talk show on, and I don't ever really remember any of the stuff in the news, that he had went through. But he actually has MS, and listening to him tell that story of what he had to go through every day. I mean, not being able to walk because his feet are on fire. I mean, this dude's a talk show host. He's got to be on.
I remember him,
on TV. That's what he does for a living, and you're telling him he can't. I mean, y'all are giving him all these painkillers that are killing him to make him function every day when he fixed himself with medical marijuana.
Yeah, he's self-medicated.
And I mean, he's an advocate for it now, man. I heard him say the other day he was not stopping until it was legal in all 50 states, and I do believe him on that.
So he's pretty passionate about it when he talks.
He was very passionate about it.
I've heard him speak on military, and dude is he's a good speaker, man.
He's a very good speaker. Yes, sir.
He's very well spoken and just seems very passionate about what he does.
It actually blew me away. I wasn't expecting that whenever I went down there.
Really?
He was a very good speaker.
So what do you think the next steps are? So basically, we're coming out. We're saying we have a lot to lose here. We're coming out and we're being open with all of this, and we have multiple businesses. You don't see many CEOs, many business owners talking about it because they're worried. We're not, man. We're going full steam ahead. We know it's the right thing. We know in 10 years that it's going to be nobody's. They're going to be like, wow, that was a pioneer thing, not a bad thing.
Correct.
So how do you think that's going to play out?
I think it's going to be slow, man. I think it's going to take a few years, just because you got to look at the 50, 60 years of history that is just burned into people's brains,
Right.
The newer generation, obviously our generation, we don't really have a problem with it, but the older generation, it's going to take some time. But the way we can fix that is the education. We have to get out there in front. And I mean, to me, it's really simple. You see a kid with epilepsy, he's having a seizure, he takes CBDs, he stops having the seizure. Is that not enough for you? I don't know what else to do. I mean, the best thing I can think is we have to educate the people to get them to see where this is not a bad thing.
When you can see it, the education, even from what's happened now, in the voting booth. I mean, in our town, this is a conservative town.
It's very
it was
conservative.
Half and half almost,
Half and half.
for and against. That's pretty dang.
And if you look across the country, when you talk about medical versus recreational, if you poll people on medical, you're going to get probably about 3/4 of the country that is, that we're cool with the medical. But once you go to the recreational, then that number is going to plummet.
Sure.
And I'm not saying I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I do feel like the government has no right to regulate that, which is nature. It's a plant. You need to leave it alone. But
sure,
we can save people's lives here. We can help people, and there's a way to do it without harming your body even more.
Yeah, you're looking at kind of what you're doing, man. You're actually saving people's lives.
Correct.
Really. I mean, if you look at Montel's story, you look at people across the world, we've all heard those little stories about little kids who are suffering when they could be using CBD or something along that line from the plant, basically. I mean, you're talking about something pretty courageous and pretty incredible that you're doing, really.
Right. And I mean, it's been around for ages. I mean, centuries, man.
Well, yeah.
I mean, they've been using it. I mean, we were in the pot business when we first started this country growing hemp.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's illegal.
Yeah, I think we were weren't they trying to make a car out of hemp or something like that at one point?
I don't know about that, but I know at one
yeah.
point it was one of our largest exports out of the country.
Wow. That's crazy. That's pretty crazy, man. And now we're at a point where we're debating whether somebody can literally smoke a joint.
Correct.
That's pretty crazy.
I could call my insurance company right now and have any kind of opioid pain medication I wanted, so long as my doctor said it was cool.
Yeah, and basically, yeah, you get hooked on this shit, and it's not even your fault, man. You go to the doctor, and he's like, this stuff's cool. You take it, then you're like, holy shit. You get addicted to it. You're on heroin, basically. Then you're going to every doctor in the city trying to get more.
I used to always look down on that, to be honest with you, man. I was like, how does somebody get addicted to pain pills? I don't understand it. And, I broke my wrist back in 2010. Went to the emergency room. They, did x-rays. Yeah, you broke your wrist. give me some pain pills, send me to a hand surgeon. Takes me a week to go see the hand surgeon before he can work me in. Takes another month and a half for him to schedule the surgery. That whole time, they're feeding me pain pills because otherwise I can't get through the day because, I mean, my wrist is broken. Did I get addicted? No. You know, was it kind of hard to quit? Yeah, it was a little hard to quit, you know, because you get used to that feeling every day. But I easily can see how it happens.
Right. Say you had a back trauma, you know.
Correct. I look at my Uncle Bob, whose foot is, I mean, held together by probably like 15 screws. And he's addicted to pain pills. He does anything he can to get them. And I feel bad for him because it's not necessarily his fault. They just prescribe them to him. And they
because he goes to work and then he can't really use marijuana because he's going to get tested.
He's going to get tested. But if I go to the doctor and they're prescribing me Loratabs, I'm good to go.
Oh my God.
And they continue to do it.
This is honestly, the more you talk about it, it's effed up, man.
It is.
It's pretty crazy.
It really is.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we actually have a continuation of this podcast? Because I think this is pretty interesting. Like go in more in depth of like, you know, the legislation and all that kind of stuff. Like next week,
we can definitely do that. Definitely do that. We'll get some facts together, some more facts that we can present. I mean, they're out there. It's not hard to find.
And I think from now and till later, I think there's gonna be more and more come out. I think each week is gonna be like a firestorm. I really do.
Correct. Oh, absolutely.
So hey, Cody, we appreciate you coming on, man. And then hopefully we can get together next week.
Yep, no problem, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, brother.
All right, buddy. Bye.